the talented and beautiful Melody Brooke, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
My pleasure.
Now, starting off, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even if we weren't, let me rephrase that. The whole point of my talk show is to show people that even if we weren't a disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there, who have a learning disability and who are disabled. That you should never give up or have people label you just saying because you have a disability. You should prove to them if you're very passionate about your goals in life. You should prove yourself to them. It's like, hey, you label me as this, but look at what I'm capable of doing. So basically, the whole, I'm just bustering my statement. I've been saying this like for how many episodes? But the whole point is, you should never label yourself as having a learning disability or disability. If you're passionate about doing something, go out and prove to people you can do that.
I love that.
Now, with that being said, you have as much time as you like. You can ask me anything you want. And starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Well, let's see. I have helped raise 5 or 6 kids, depending on how you count. And I'm married. I've been married now for 16 years. I've been divorced twice. So I've had a few trials and tribulations in my life. And as a child, I was dyslexic and struggled academically. And so I do understand some of your struggle. And I decided when I was about a senior in high school that I wanted to go into acting. And I started working to develop those skills. And I got a theater degree in college. Went on to Dallas, came to Dallas and started working in the film business here. But after a couple of years, I'm getting married at 22, having a child, having another couple of girls. I was like, okay, I got to make a real living. So I went back to school and got my master's degree in counseling. And so I've been working as a professional counselor for almost 30 years. But about 6 or 7 years ago, when my girls went off to college, I decided to get back into acting, and I've been acting ever since. Done several feature films, some industrials, some commercials. And my husband and I have started making films. So together we produce short films, feature films. So that's kind of all it in a nutshell.
Well, if you're interested, I would love to work with you if that's a possibility.
Could be. Aww.
It's funny, I was on a talk show, not in person, but I called into them and they interviewed me over the phone. And they always have this soundbite. So it's kind of like, oh, maybe I can try, but it's a little more obnoxious than, so occasionally you might hear that. But you mentioned you were 22 when you got married or had your first child.
Yes, I was 22 when I got married, 24 when my first child was born.
For people who are out there, at what age do you think it's a good idea to get married, and do you have any regrets?
I don't have any regrets in that I wouldn't be who I am if I had not been through everything I've been through. So it's kind of hard to look back and regret anything because it's all taught me something. But I certainly think it's wiser to wait till you're 27 approximately to get married and have kids. And fortunately, my children have followed that path, and I'm very happy about that. And so they're a little bit older, having kids, which I kind of, I would love to have grandbabies right now, but I only have 2, and they're on the West Coast, so I don't get to see them often. One of them is special needs, and I would particularly love to see her a lot, but being so far away, it's difficult to see her.
I understand.
My advice is, wait till you're 27, because by then, at 27, your brain is completely formed. That we are not completely formed adults until we're about the age of 27. So that's why I say wait till you're 27 when your judgment is really good.
Well, I put you on the spot now. It's your turn. You can put me on the spot. You can ask me any hard-hitting questions that you want.
Well, so tell me learning disabilities did you have, and what have you done to overcome them?
You know, it's funny, I always try to dance around this subject. But, well, just being honest, you know, might as well throw it out there. Just trying to think of the words I'm going to use. Basically, I'm artistic. I have ADD, ADHD. You know, it's really hard to sit still if I'm not. I give you a perfect example. Last night, me and my family were watching WrestleMania. And I like, if I'm very interested in something like what we're doing now, if I feel like, oh, I can do this and do that and be active, okay, I don't care how long I sit there. And, you know, I can do interview after interview after interview. But if I'm just sitting there and like, do I have to stay like this for 4 hours? This is so boring, man. I can't snap my fingers, but my mind's always processing. You know, I have to get up and I have to move, or I have to, you know, use my phone. I always have to keep myself motivated. You know, that's the ADD and ADHD. The artistic part is I guess some parts people would say I have my head up my ass. But because I live in my own fantasy world, and sometimes that's not a bad idea. It isn't bad because, you know, with all the shit going on today, it's kind of good to have your own vision of, okay, this is the world that I want to do, and this is the goal that I want, and everything. To answer your question, how I created my own talk show, is basically I used to work in retail. And I was watching, you know, my siblings to go off and do their own thing. And I was like, can't go to college, can't drive, can't do this, can't do that. Screw it. I'm going to show people that even with a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And even if it backfires, you know, at least I attempted to do something. And I got tired of working in retail. I got sick out of it. Long story about that. But it's out of my stupidity. But, you know, 2013, I created my own talk show. And I call those my demo years. Because, don't ask me why. It seemed like a good idea at the time. I did 72 phone interviews.
Wow.
I interviewed people from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to Dragon Ball Z to Spider-Man, and it still gets me. I still get people asking me this. What is your demographic? What do you cater to? What is your audience? What is your fan base? What is your following? And I say to people, my following, I'm not a freaking cult leader or anything. But you know, and they're like, and they say, oh, why don't you have any sponsors? Oh, you have this great format. Why aren't you as big or wink, wink, bigger than you portrayed yourself to be? You should have sponsors. You should have people giving you money, help you out. I said, hey, that's terrific. If you would like to help me out with that, I would appreciate it. No, if you can't do it yourself, and I guess you're not capable of doing what you're passionate about or some shit like that. And like I said, it's uncensored. You can say whatever you want. I don't have a filter, so I just say whatever pops in my head, and that's another part.
I have that sometimes too, so I can understand that.
So I did my show over, and thanks to you, we're up to 203. And you know, I interviewed people like professional wrestlers, the brother of Macho Man Randy Savage, Lenny Pablo. I interviewed recently Brodus Clay. He's an upcoming star. I interviewed Double J Jared. I interviewed Kerrigan Mayhem. I interviewed. I would like to have her back on the show for an official interview. I interviewed Barbara Goodson. I interviewed who else you may know. Richard Epcar. he does the Joker and the new Batman games, but not really the new Batman games, because Mark Hamill still does the Joker, but he does the Joker as in if your kids ever played DC versus Mortal Kombat. He did the Joker in that, and he did a couple other things. I interviewed a whole bunch of CEOs that are up and coming. I interviewed actors, actresses, voiceover people. I pretty much interview anyone who wants to have a normal conversation, make a new friend, and support whatever I'm doing. And I've been trying to figure out in season 1, like I was telling you before we went on the air. Season 1 was what we're doing now, but I would ask you, where do you stand on legalizing marijuana? Where do you stand on gay rights? Where do you stand on using the race card? Okay, that's great. I don't want to sound repetitive. How am I going to make season 2 different? Then that's like, okay, let's do what we're doing right now, back and forth. Okay, that's good. How am I going to make season 3 different? Oh, why not interview 2 people at the same time? That would be a good idea. And I thought you were supposed to have a sidekick, but whatever, I can always work it out. But I'm trying everything, and no one's helping me with it, so I'm doing the best I can with a learning disability. But I'm trying everything to get people interested. I'm promoting the videos on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and I still don't know if I have an audience. I know the videos are being watched, and I'm very thankful for that. But when I was interviewed, and I don't mean to ramble on, I apologize. But when I was interviewed, well, actually, I say this last part, then I'm going to pass it over to you. When I was interviewed, someone said to me, because you're doing this great thing and you're so big on social media, I was like, thanks? I guess you know something I don't. I really don't know if I'm a big fan of social media, but if you're saying that, okay, thanks. And have you ever had people walk up to you and say, I think what you're doing is terrific, or do you think I'm a fan of your show? Keep up the good work. And so I really don't know if I have fans. I would like to think that eventually I would have fans, but
I know that's hard, because I do a video blog on YouTube that I do 1 or 2 videos a week, and I never know if anybody watches them. And it's really nice when somebody does occasionally say to me, hey, I love that video. It's nice, yeah.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you, and then, like I said, I'm going to give you the open floor, is do you think that your fan base should really matter? Does numbers really matter? Say, if you had a good mission, put yourself in my position, that you, God forbid, you have a learning disability, but you're using it for your advantage, and you will try to talk to a couple famous people, and some say yes, and they'll give you a, bite the hand that feeds them, because, you become famous, you have to give back. It's common sense. But
I really think the whole numbers thing is really about what are you trying to do with it? What's your goal? If your goal is to just continue to keep yourself going, keep yourself out there, keep showing up, I think you got to just, whether you have people out there watching, whether you have a following or not, doesn't matter. The fact that you're continuing to put yourself out there, eventually you will build a following. Eventually you will build people that are going, hey, what is this guy doing? And they'll start to watch you. But it takes time, and that's the hard part, isn't it? Waiting for that critical mass when suddenly it's like, oh, people are noticing all of a sudden. So, but you have to do what you're passionate about and just keep on doing it. So I applaud you for that. It takes a lot of stamina and courage to keep doing that.
I give you a perfect example. Looking back on it, I should have been doing, I have no idea. I know Google Hangout came out recently, I know that much. I had no idea when Skype came out, but I should have been doing this when Skype first came out. Should have been doing this back when I was back in Monroe Woodbury, When in high school, I could have interviewed a handful of students and teachers. But passing it over to you, I accidentally just knocked the camera out of my hands. Passing it over to you, what is your audience? Like, how many followers do you have on Twitter, YouTube?
I have on Facebook is my biggest forum. I probably have 4,000 connections on Facebook. I have different Twitter accounts. I have my personal Twitter account for Melody Brooke, and then I have a Twitter account for our film Promises, and then I have a Twitter account for our business, Mike and Melody Films. So, Melody Brooke on Twitter, which is actually it's Melody. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Melody. And I have probably 1,500 followers there. So it's a little bit bigger than my other ones. My other ones I have maybe close to 1,000, and even less with the Mike and Melody because I haven't really promoted it that much. So, it's all a matter of just continuing to work it. It just takes time.
I'm jealous. I only have 145, but that number fluxes a lot. Sometimes 145, sometimes 144. But 15,000. Yeah, I would love to do whatever you're doing to make that.
Well, you just keep putting it out there, and you keep talking, you keep posting, you keep putting videos up there. In fact, recently I had someone tell me that on Twitter now it's all about the image. So send a picture, post pictures, not just Twitter, not just the 140 characters, but post pictures on there. And the guy who is the star of our film Promises, he's been posting all these photos of himself and various, they have it do Photoshop and all kinds of stuff, and it's building his following. So I see that it's working. You just have to, but it takes a lot of work to do that.
Master, I tried it recently. You can also take a video of yourself.
Yes.
And then you can do that like that. I tried that. I didn't know if it worked or anything, but...
Yeah, but you just have to keep doing it. Keep doing it. That's how you build that up. But I started really working on building a social media presence probably about 10 years ago. So that tells you how long it's taken to build it up. And there's all these new things that I'm not even a part of yet, like Instagram, and I know there's other ones, but I'm like, what are those? I don't even know what those are.
Like I went out, I made myself. What was it? My friend Melina Perez has it on her Twitter, something called Audio Boom. And it's kind of like Blog Talk Radio. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to use that. I'm going to try to. And with Instagram, not a big fan of that. I'm at the point where I use Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. That's it.
That's about me. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter is about all I can do.
But,
and it's Speech 32 where I met you.
Met you in that too. And, for Instagram, it's kind of like, okay, I made myself an account. It's there. Don't really use it. On Tumblr, I made myself an account. It's there. I don't really use it. But on the next question, let's get it.
Pinterest, that's the other one.
Oh, that too. Now, the two questions I was going to ask you is, one, do you know how to make a business proposal? And do you think that would help you? Because you're a bigger star than I am. Do you think that would help your following, or how? Or
the business proposals are really best for people who are putting together something to try and get investors or sponsors. And I have put together business proposals for, we've done it for our business, we've done it for our feature films, I've done it for various things that I've done over the years. So those do come really in handy when you're working on trying to get some people on board to help support you and sponsor you financially.
Well, if you're interested, I would love to pay you if you can do one for me.
Well, we can talk about it. Send me some, we'll do some interchanges and talk about what that would look like. So yeah.
The reason I bring it up is because I called WWE recently, and I'm a big wrestling fan, and I actually called TNA too, but TNA didn't really say this to me. WWE didn't. They said to me, well, what is your following? What is this? What is that? And okay, I heard that before. And they said, okay, we want you to make a business proposal. And I'm on. You understand? I have it over my head. I have no idea how to do that.
It's the trick. And, the good news, though, is that you can learn that pretty easily in terms of what's available on the internet. I love that about today's world, because you can Google it and you get a template for a business plan, and you just put in your numbers and your descriptions, and that's basically what I do.
Well, like I said, if you would love to teach me, I would ever be so thankful. But I tried looking it up, like you were saying, you can look it up, and my head was spinning because I don't know why, but maybe it's because it came up in Spanish.
And, how you do it for me is like, no.
And then I tried another one, like you said, there's numbers, and I don't really know how to do any of that. But I tried asking people for their help, but like I said, if you could help me, I appreciate it. But basically, what the whole point was, he said, if I give you a perfect example, I interviewed Winnie Pablo, and the maximum numbers he got was 235 hits, and they said that's good, not what we're looking for. And it's like, okay, I also interviewed Double J Jet Jarrett, and I recently interviewed Brodus Clay, also known as Tyrus, from TNA Wrestling. Okay, how many hits do you have? I don't know, slowly moving, maybe 70. Out of all of them, the Winnie Pablo one has the most. And they're like, oh, that's not good enough. You should have a couple thousand, 2,000, 3,000. I got turned down for an interview because this woman said to me, what is your following? A couple hundred. It's not good enough. Come back when you have 1,000, 2,000. I'm like, you understand that this is a good cause what I'm doing, and also I have a learning disability. So it's like, I either I'm gonna give you a shitload of money, because that's what they ask for. Oh well, if you want me on your show, you're gonna have to give me $2,000. Really, $2,000 for a half hour for a Skype interview? It's like, come on. How about I give you $30 for a half hour? Now that's reasonable, but $2,000 for a half hour, that's ridiculous. And I was like, okay, you're taking advantage of me now. And like I said, I don't mean to bitch to you. I apologize, but it's good to actually.
It's really true that you have to build a following. We had produced a pilot for a web series that we were wanting to produce. And again, until we had a following of a certain number of people, there's no way that any of the sponsors were going to talk to us. And we had several sponsors that we were trying to talk to, so I can relate to what you're saying, and we had this really great video. You can look it up. It's on Vimeo, and I think it's on our webpage as well, which is Mike and Melody Films. And you can see it. It's a little short pilot for a web series, and it's really cute, and the people that did like it, really wanted to see more of it. But the problem is how do you drive enough traffic to it, to get people to look at it? And that's the trick. And we haven't figured that part out either. It just, I don't know what it takes.
Well, I'm a good person. You help me, I help you. I'm a good person. Now, passing it over to you. Do you have anything that motivates you? Is there any subjects you like to talk about? Ask me. This is your time, after all.
One of the things that interests me is the fact that you have this disability, because my granddaughter is learning. Well, she's physically disabled. She has an extremely rare neurological disorder where she's deaf, and she has she can't blink, she can't feel her face, she can't eat, she can't walk yet. She's 4 years old, but she's really, really bright, and she's really, really happy. So she's this delightful child, and looking and seeing what is her future going to bring. What is she going to have to do to be able to get where she wants to go in life? And how hard that's going to be for her. But also seeing that when she has that kind of will like you have, there's no telling what she'll be able to do.
No, I agree with you, and I hope she has a bright future. I hope what I'm doing inspires people. I say, hey, I have this disability, or I've been, I used to say, and I turn myself into a perfect example for people deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. And I was saying that for all of season 1, a little bit of season 2, and it finally came out. My parents say, "You really need to change your slogan." It's like, why? I've been using it for 100 episodes. So what's wrong with it? 1, you're not deaf. 2, you're not blind. And 3, you're sure as hell not in a wheelchair. So what kind of perfect example are you? And it's like, you couldn't just say that to me before I did 100 episodes? I don't feel like going...
It's true, though. I mean, you know, there's different kinds of wheelchairs. You know, you have other kinds of wheelchairs, so to speak, because you have things that keep you from getting out and interacting in the world just as surely as somebody in a wheelchair does. So I think it's a valid thing for you to have said.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You know, my mother, I guess you would say it's a female thing, because you're a mother, and my mother would say they're more supportive than the guys. The guys are like all big and macho and everything, but...
Want to know something interesting? Men are actually far more sensitive than women.
I'm a perfect example of that. I'm very sensitive.
You know, men are. I mean, we know this from the time they're babies, because their startle reflex is stronger. They just have, they're more sensitive to their environment. They're more sensitive emotionally than we are, but they're not given the tools to deal with it. They're told, shut it down, put it away, don't feel it, don't talk about it, don't look like you're feeling it, pretend everything's fine, right? But in fact, they're more sensitive, and so they've learned all these ways to try to pretend like they're not, but really they are.
That's true. Now, what can you tell us about your career and what made you, and you're a video productionist, right? I can't change the screen now because, you know, it's taking up the whole screen. But what influenced you to start your career, and where do you see yourself in your career going?
You know, we have there's a lot of possibilities, so it's hard. You know, I'm just kind of putting a lot of stuff out there right now. We have our feature film that we're hoping will get picked up, and we'll be able to continue to make feature films. That's really kind of where we'd like to go. But in that process, I would also like to be doing more workshop as a counselor and getting my message out there and selling my books, because I have 2 books and 2 workbooks available on Amazon that I really want people to get access to. And it's just like your radio show. Until the word gets out there about it, people don't know about it. They don't know to go there. They don't know what benefit it has for them. So trying to find some way to get my message out there to the world. Those are the 2 things. And of course, creating our feature film, our films are about getting our message out there. That's what we're trying to do. So everything's about getting our message of compassion out there. And that's what we teach, compassion.
Now, for people who want to know, what is your message?
Our message is that compassion is something you can learn. It's not necessarily something that we are taught growing up, but we can learn it when we understand the way our brains work and what we're being driven to do based on our survival reflex. Because our survival reflex would make us behave in certain ways that we don't really choose, we just do automatically. And once you learn what's going on, and once you get to understand the process, you can make a different choice. And you can learn how to be compassionate, not only for other people, but for yourself as well.
And you mentioned you also wrote two books, right?
Yes. The first book is called The Cycle of Compassion, and the second one is called Oh Wow, This Changes Everything. And they basically are the same subject matter, but the first one is kind of academic, and the second one is a little bit more user-friendly. So it's an easier read. And then I have 2 workbooks that go along with them that help people understand how to apply it in their daily life.
All right.
They're very powerful. They do change people's lives. That's why it's called Oh Wow, This Changes Everything.
Wrapping up, do you have any funny stories you like to share, or any funny pranks that you pulled on people?
You know, I'm not much of a prankster. I wish I were, because I wish I had lots of great funny stories to tell. You know, we went through 2 weeks of shooting our feature film. That was the biggest adventure that I've been on, which is we shot every day. We shot 12 to 16 hours a day, depending on the day. And we had this whole team of people that were all on board, and there was exhausted, but they just kept getting up the next morning and going again. And our star, Manu Intiraymi, who is in Star Trek Renegades, that's getting ready to come out, plus a bunch of other stuff. He just made a film called The Fifth Passenger. Anyway, he was just continuing to be a cheerleader for everybody all day long, every day. And one day, my daughter, who was our production manager for the film, got kind of chewed out by the guy who owned the location that we were filming at. And she was just like ready to go into tears. And she's like, I'm going to go. So she got off in her car and goes on a run to run on an errand for the crew. And Manu jumps in the car with her and goes with her just so that he could give her a pep talk, so that when she came back, she was feeling much better. It was really sweet. So that's the kind of thing that you love to see in life, right? Is people like that.
It's hard to find good-hearted people.
Yes.
Now,
that makes it all worthwhile.
The funny story I think of is my mother went to her parents' house, and they were staying about like a week or so, and they had this dog, and they just adopted her, and this dog's terrific, this big sweetheart. My grandparents were saying, no, I don't want that dog in our house. If you gotta take her, just gotta leave her in the garage. So whatever happened in the garage changed the dog. So, for the 2 weeks, they fed her and everything, but she was still in the garage. My grandfather went in the garage one day and went, son of a bitch, the dog ate my wall. Where are the bolts? Blah. Oh, well, I explained it too. The dog was so upset that I was locked in the garage that the dog actually ate the wall and ate the bolts inside the wall. And my grandmother says, oh my God, it ate the wall? What type of dog did you bring to my house? It's a monster.
A dog that doesn't like to be locked up in a garage.
The other funny story was my sister had her bar mitzvah, and my parents got her a cat, and don't ask me how this happened, but the cat was wandering in the house and she fell in the wall. So for 2 weeks, like with the dog in the garage, 2 weeks the cat was walking around, meowing inside the wall. And my dad said, this is a brand new $24,000 house. I'm not going to start ripping it apart for getting a stupid cat out of the wall. So my brother found where she was meowing, because she was getting meow louder and louder. So my grandfather says, we're going to make one hole, and that's it. If she doesn't come out, God help her. So they made a hole, took her out. From that day forward, we named her She-Rock.
That's cute. Well, it's been a pleasure. And good luck with your show. And you email me and we'll talk later about how to help you out with some stuff.
Now, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners?
Just follow us on Facebook and Twitter. It's Promises Movie on Facebook and on Twitter. And Oh Wow Melody on Twitter as well. And then, of course, Melody Brooke on Facebook and on YouTube. So YouTube.com/Melody Brooke. You can see lots of my videos.